Today's seminar is on the second core practice, Unraveling Old Ways. If you've been stomping, and I hope you have, you've undoubtedly observed that certain thoughts, feelings, reactions, and habits come up repeatedly. These are old ways. They are brain constructs that shape your experience. This seminar is about unraveling those old ways, altering them, and replacing them as needed. This is the 7th seminar in this series and corresponds to Chapter 4 in the book. If you haven't seen the seminar on stomping, by all means, please watch it first. Let's get started. Each time you stomp, it's likely you'll observe that an old way is shaping the experience. It can feel like you're a collection of old ways with your consciousness focused on whatever has your attention. It's kind of like the brain is driving the car and you're a passenger gazing out the window. Your old ways are your brain's reflection on who and how you should be in a particular moment based on the past. Old ways can be productive and effective, or they can hold you back. Knowing your old ways and their impact on your experience makes you aware of the opportunity to respond more skillfully in any particular moment. Old ways can be thought streams, emotions, habits, self-talk, reactions, stories, beliefs, behaviors, and countless more. Here are some specific examples. Do any of these ring a bell? Are there any additional ones you might want to add? You want to stop and experience old ways as they are happening to understand how they work. Specifically, you want to become aware of their frequency, their progression, how they could be altered, and equally important, what are the conditions which cause them to arise. With this information, you can support the good ones and alter the suboptimal ones. You might become curious on how and why old ways developed. And there's a time and place for that. Most likely they developed over time as a result of your brain reacting to a particular stimuli and receiving positive feedback. If you dwell on discovering how and why your brain does it, your brain will identify events, a life situation, or people as the cause. Remember, your brain spins narratives so you perceive your life as consistent, and it will happily turn towards victimization if it helps you feel consistent. Just to be clear, we're not talking about those that are constructed by mental, emotional, or physical trauma. If you find that to be the case, you may want to seek the help of a professional. Only know if that's needed. Unraveling old ways is not about this introspection. To build a sense of all right now, the focus is on changing how your brain utilizes the past, not what happened in the past. Direct your curiosity towards understanding how the old ways is triggered and its patterns and progression, its intensity and its impact on the current experience so you respond more skillfully. Characterizing an old way's phase and charge is a great way to avoid the pitfalls of introspection and gain some benefit. First, identifying the phase and charge in any moment changes the current experience. It naturally pulls you back from the brain's normal progression. In essence, it's making you more aware. 2, phase and charge points you to the prior phase. For example, the moment you observe that worry is building, your awareness encompasses the stimulus and the trigger that kicked off that worry. Traveling upstream leads to observing an old way earlier, which gives you more opportunities to shift, and you can do it sooner. And third, phase and charge helps you notice alternative flows. When you observe a particular old way multiple times, you may notice that the trigger and the stimulus, the progression, the intensity, and the impact varies from one time to another. Revealing the complete repertoire helps develop a set of shifts that help you be better prepared. Your brain will play tricks on you to forego any alteration. You may feel queasy and anxious. There doesn't feel like there's time to do it. Your brain and body may react more quickly than you can respond consciously. Your brain may increase the intensity to react by flooding you with additional stories and memories of similar or stronger experiences. It may come back with a different approach or reason to drive you to go in the direction of the old way. Once you're aware of these tricks and distractions, they're far less effective and even a bit humorous. Here's a case study on dealing with an old way. At the office, Fred often reacted negatively to any feedback or what he considered criticism about his work. He felt it was a personal attack. People didn't seem to appreciate his work experience and his education as much as he did. He found his colleagues were tending to avoid dealing with him, and he was feeling increasingly isolated. When he was passed over for managing some highly visible new technology projects, he realized he had to do something. Through stomping, he began to observe this experience. Here's what he found out. First, he was defensive far more than he realized, a classic characteristic of an old way. His reaction followed a pattern: defend the work in himself, usually with a barrage of verbiage, attack the messenger and their comments, and blame others for any shortfall. He found he heated up quickly. It took no time for the charge to hit intense. He literally could feel himself heating up, and he felt like he was turning red. And this reaction was independent of the individual or the content of the feedback. And finally, once he calmed down, he often found the feedback was helpful. Sometimes he didn't understand parts of it because he wasn't listening, though he would never admit that. He prepared a number of shifts. First, he would breathe 3 times as soon as he sensed his internal temperature arise, and acknowledge that the temperature increase was just his brain sending him a signal. He would listen fully to the feedback. As a somatic cue, he would put his finger on his lips as a reminder to keep his mouth shut. He would only take in feedback during the first meeting. He would decide what he would do about it afterwards. He found that this decision freed him to listen to the feedback and think about its implications. He would always thank the messenger, acknowledge their good intention. He would ask them for some time to think about it. As a follow-up, he would get back in touch with them, told him what he liked, what he was less comfortable with, and what he would do. In all cases, he would write that he appreciated their time and valued their perspective. It took effort to stick to the shifts at the start. However, he quickly found that the intensity of his negative reaction shrunk considerably and its speed slowed. It was a relief and eliminated the time he would waste calming down after a feedback session. He usually found that the feedback improved his work. It was better received by his recipients, who commented that it was well thought through. There were still some people who would set him off, and he had to watch his cynical tongue. Interestingly, others began to ask him for feedback on their work. So appreciate an old way. The pattern and reaction is what got you here today. Each one has shaped you into who you are today, whether you like it or not. As you observe them more and more, you realize that you often spend needless time and effort managing old ways that no longer serve you and their aftermath. Further, it's likely you will identify more old ways that propagate suffering than propagate savoring. But now that you understand that this is a bias that brain functions have, there's an opportunity to switch that around. Your old ways can become cues to stop. They can trigger you to change ones that no longer serve you and strengthen the ones that support who you are. You can add additional patterns and responses and help your brain establishes new neural networks so you savor more moments. You are now spending your time and energy in a productive way to boost well-being and your sense of all right now. If you've been following Stomping and Unraveling Old Ways closely, there may be two unanswered questions in the back of your mind. The first is, if I stomp to direct my attention to be aware, can I learn to be aware for more of my time? And second, all this unraveling old ways is based on knowing who and how I want to be. What if I don't know? The third chord practice, the next seminar, is Aware Care, how you strengthen awareness. And the fourth practice is the wannabe tree, discovering your true self and your true nature. I hope you join me for both of them. Thanks for watching.